about this space. I'm not going to prescribe what they say. But y'all get all three of the ballots. It'll be open for discussion after. If any of y'all want to talk, you can read the one I see if you want. But I want them to be able to say something. So that's what we're doing.
What was I saying? I don't make this long or nothing. Before I even start, it's not no sob story shit. It's nothing like that. I wanted to say something that I probably be productive for the community. So I always talk about say who I am. So my name is Rashid Campbell. I'm from Oakland, California. I go to OU sophomore year. I started debating when I was a junior in high school. Wasn't good at all. Went to New York when I was like a senior or something. And I was like, man, let's do some productive stuff. I'm from Oakland and my grandmother's a Black Panther. So I was raised in a revolutionary way. I was raised to make active changes within the community. I always focused on the Black community because it's the community I was already around and I seen the direct oppression. But essentially that was supposed to spread out to the other communities that would need lots of communities, Polynesian communities, all those other things. In general, we just came up here to say, for one, you know what I'm saying, I give a lot of thanks to Jack and James for giving us this space and stuff. For y'all who don't know, it's a lot of relevance to this hotel. The first time we pulled up, probably a lot of people was like, damn, this shit was like a plantation. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much because it was. Inside of like some of my debates that I was saying on the second day, when I first seen it, I actually really went debating. I was like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? But especially because it's called the Campbell House. We had a lot of direction to be like a slave master who owned hotels, slave master of my kinfolk. Second day, I started to say these things in my debates. Folks was getting it. The way I would flip the metaphor to where people can understand it, I would say, you ever heard of a Jewish person who went to the Holocaust Museum? It's the hotel that we're staying in right now. Like literally, it's the Holocaust Museum. And it's not something to where I'm putting anything on anybody. Like I should feel a certain way about it. The point of me saying this is to create some productivity with the community. In general, what I want to happen is, for one, this is the first thing. Is pretty much there's a couple points. This is pretty much the basis of it. Y'all so much y'all can understand it fast. What OU does, the Black Debaters on OU, it's not a project. It's not like a movement. This is none of the stuff that Louisville does. I always recognize those elders out in the Black community that left a space for us to speak from our social location, because I don't really feel like people know the inherent value of this game of debate. The game of debate is something that I love. Like I think the game of debate is amazing, but it's always a clash to where we always try to tell people this true thing that you can't just talk about folks dying that I see in real life and expect somebody to take it as a game for a split second, you know? And on top of that, whenever I see all these faces and all these beautiful minds and all these thoughts that's coming out, I say, how the fuck is the world so fucked up if y'all so smart? You know what I'm saying? Like think about that. How the hell do y'all know all this shit but don't apply none of it to the real world? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we create something in the debate community to where people understand that the shit that we saying inside this realm is a game? It's tight that you win, it's tight that you get a trophy, that's what's up. But the folks outside, of which some of y'all create apps that really talk about it. The sister back there had an app about rape. But she really went through that. How do you create something that will actually help her get through those things? And it's not something to say I'm putting folks on blast or nothing like that. But it is something to say that we should think about these things in real life. The second part of that is just that I want to come up here and give respect to my ancestors. I don't like to trip white folks up with white guilt. Like, oh, I forget y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like that. I'm from California. I know the most liberal white folks in, you know what I'm saying, America. You know what I'm saying? They fought for me a little bit. When I was 4, they didn't want to fed me. So it's not in the sense to where I'm saying it to y'all directly, but I do think the oppression that happens within the communities that folks do not recognize is problematic. Because the white folks that I met in California is completely different than the white folks that I met in Oklahoma. The difference is a lot of those folks in Oklahoma don't really recognize the oppression. And the recognition and identification that something is going on is all that needs to happen for a person to create real change. The last part about the real change before Sheila get up basically says some space on, you know what I'm saying, being debated in the community is that, hey, just a side note, if y'all want to, you know what I'm saying, if y'all want to leave, you know what I'm saying, check out, like, man, it's good. I don't know what the fuck you talking about, like, hey, it's good, though. It's only for the folks that's really going to receive it and do something with it. So I ain't getting at nobody with it. Like, if you don't understand what I'm saying, if you don't got a perspective of what I'm saying, I understand that you're at a point to where you're not receiving this right now. But in general, I want to make folks have this understanding that the things that a lot of people are saying within their realms, not even just the black debaters, but mainly speaking from my social location, the black debaters, it's not something that's just put aside from the game, but it's a way to think about how we can make the game more productive. Like I said, y'all are the smartest motherfuckers in America. So, y'all should have some problem solving. Just gonna say if you leave.
I'm new to the debate activity or whatever. It's only my second year actually doing the activity as a whole. So when I first came into the activity, I looked at it to be like a space where academia can take space, a place where we can take an academic approach, you know, and generate some intellectual conversation that can actually generate some meaningful change. So it's like, as an African American or as a descendant of a slave, you know what I mean? It's like, almost imagine like, okay, in Germany, you know what I mean, there's still a Jewish population within Germany, you know what I mean? And like given the history of Germany with, you know, the Jews, in a sense, it's like almost like the same thing how I felt here or whatever. Like when these guys first brought this idea to us, I was asleep. Like I was asleep in the room. Like in reality, like it's been hard as hell for me to sleep here, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm from the South. I was born and raised in Bryan, Texas, you know what I mean? So I know slavery, you know, I know plantation. And at the same time, it's like I've been told my whole life to be like, okay, George, this slavery thing, it happened years ago. Like, let it go, sweep it on the rug, you know, let's move past it. But it's like, today I was introduced to a term, Sankofa, you know, the bird that looks back and it says it's okay to go back and look back to what you've forgotten in a sense, you know. So it's like, as I'm sitting here in the debate round, you know, and I'm hyped, and I'm excited because I love debate, you know what I mean? I have an argument, you know, I'm not saying I win because I'm oppressed, or, you know, have an argument in a sense, you know, I'm prepared, I brought an argument. But it's like at the same time, you know, like, when we talk about like real life stuff or whatever, it's like it seems like in a sense it's always swept under the rug, and it seems like it's a type of ideology or a type of perspective that's kind of like propped up in privilege, you know what I mean, in comparison or in hegemonic in a sense to the like perspective of the oppressed in a sense, or the perspective of the descendant of the slave, because it is very, very, very like oppressive and like just like atrocity just to walk through this hotel and be like, man. Like, the irony is, 40 years ago, with my skin pigment, like, I probably would have never seen the inside of this hotel because, you know what I mean, I'm dark. So, I mean, I would have been, like, considered a field Negro. You know what I mean? So, like, as I'm walking through the hotel, it's like, man, I wonder what happened here. You know what I mean? Because we know that the shadow slavery is really just tore the demographic of the African American family, it tore it up. So, it's like, I come to you with, like, how do I orient myself to the debate space, at the same time be able to compete and be able to, like, have fun, but at the same time be able to have some type of spillover education and I'd be able to go take back to the community in a sense. Because at the same time, when I hear an ad say that it is our obligation, our ethical obligation to, you know, take care of them over there in Yemen or Syria or Libya, and you're like, what about us? And then the reply is like, what about them? At the same time, anytime a particular mode of oppression is brought up, it's like, but what about this mode of oppression? What about this mode of oppression? It seems like almost, it's like a but methodology. But it seems like when it goes to, like, from my standpoint, when it's like, okay, you understand that it's a problem over in within the topic areas of the country, we don't think that because we're going through things within America, within this democratic society, with this democratic country, you know what I mean? Like, we saying that because we get it, like, because we're fucked here, that, we can't do anything, but it's still like, how can I fathom helping someone with the issue that I identify with? It's like, I heard a debate where it was like, Russia's more racist. We should focus on Russia because Russia's more racist. So it came to the point where it was like, I'm living in a racist society, or a racist world right now. So do I put the racist world that I live in right now, do I put it on the back burner? And I really try to focus and really try to understand the racism that's going on in Russia? At the same time, I'm experiencing the same exact thing. So it's almost like the perspective, in the sense of some Americans or some perspectives within the debate community, and within like the meta, perspective of, like, it seems like American, in a sense, it's like when it comes to the issues and problems within the African American community, it's like they're never placed on a political platform. Like, for instance, like, African Americans are the unemployment rate for African Americans right now is double the rate for white Americans. Like, this is not an issue that's going to be put on the Republican platform or a Democratic platform. It's going to be an issue that's going to be placed into a land-lease prison system. You know what I mean? It's like when I sit up here, I'm like, okay, man, race is messed up, but also class and gender is too. Like, I try to get an intersectional approach, but at the same time, it's like me and him, we're two pretty good guys. But based off our skin color, I'm literally 6 times more likely of being incarcerated than he is because I'm black. So it's like, if this is not a reality, if this is not a big problem that's relevant to, debate, because it's funny, because in Georgia State, I got introduced to the Troy Davis, case. And it was like, it was crazy how within the debate space we can acknowledge, man, the U.S. social justice system is prejudiced and it's discriminative. But at the same time, it never became an issue, Like, we can acknowledge the issue, but what we're going to do about it? It's almost like we're going to accept it. Because it was crazy how even the rest of the media in the whole society, like, this is a flaw in the system. This shows you how it's messed up in the system. But yet nothing's done for it. So at the same time, where it's like we can acknowledge things that are messed up within the society we live in, but the focus is always abroad. It's like, man, do I really want to be a part of this? Because it's like every debate, I put myself in a sacrificial position. I put my mind out there, I put my body out there, and I'm like, welcome in, guys. Come in. Please see it. Please let me see it. I want y'all to see it how I see it. I welcome in. But in the event, it was like, oppression is oppression, or what about the other people over there? It's like, man, so I'm supposed to be an American. I'm supposed to be part of this liberal, debate, society, community, but I feel like an outsider within almost.
About to say, when I think of privilege, I only think of a person that just don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when I'm coming up here and, like, put myself on a chopping block, literally the chopping block, you know what I'm saying? Like, this sacrificial position and shit. Cause really, like, a lot of folks don't really know. I try to express it, but I'm an MC, right? So my whole history, my whole, like, art form is through poetry. You know what I'm saying? But when I spit, I feel like I'm cooning. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm up here, like, it's a minstrel show because it's interpreted the wrong way. So when I put myself on the chocolate block to say those things, which, you know what I'm saying, like I say a lot of other people do too, but it's also the way that, you know what I'm saying, I think it's this whole thing right here, you know what I'm saying, for y'all that probably not understanding right now, is just to interpret how can we express these things and be productive, right? So what I wanted to create was that, you know what I'm saying, this wasn't just something me and George just get up here and like rant. It was supposed to be a discussion, right? If y'all want to have a discussion, it's cool. If y'all have a question, you know what I'm saying, want to say something, you know what I'm saying, that'll be what's up. But if y'all don't, it's cool. But in general, the basis of the idea is that, you know what I'm saying, what he was just saying about us putting ourselves, like, you know what I'm saying, I literally hate, not hate talking about this, but like, my spirit is uneasy in here. You know what I'm saying?
Really
like
is,
just
bro.
sitting in this whole, like standing right here, like, just being in this hotel, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you know what I'm saying, where me and George come from, you can't really show nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, that leaves you at a vulnerable position, that gives them ammunition to do something to you, you know what I'm saying? So we have to stand and defend, you know what I'm saying? But, in general though, you know what I'm saying, George, if George has something else to say.
Like, at the end of the day, it's like us in this room as Americans, us in this room as, you know, quote unquote, liberals in a sense, you know what I mean? Whether you have a conservative or liberal, you know what I mean, political view, you know, as ethical, like individuals in this room that takes a responsibility and that's able to go research problems. It's like when we're able to identify problems within the United States, you know what I mean, actual real life problems, and we try to and we try to approach these problems from a debate like fiat standpoint in a sense. It's like we still got to have a threshold, you know, to be like, okay, when does this debate become real? You know? Because at the same time where it's like, well, you tell, you know, it's only 20,000 people, you know, that fights racism, and it's 21,000 people that, you know, does this, so it's outweighs this, so racism doesn't matter, you know, because it's all about the greater good. You know, it's like that's the same type of mentality that allowed for slavery to go, you know, because slavery only affected, you know, a quarter of the population. It benefited the other 3/4 of the population. It became okay. It was cool. It's for the greater good. Like that was the same type of logic, the same type of subconscious that allowed the rationalization and justification of slavery, or of dropping bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, or of like all of the type of like oppressive, violent things that the government has done. So it's like any event where I stand up and it's like we have this policy's action. It's like we're capped in a sense. Democracy is only this, and this. You can't be like, for you to be Democrat, you have to do this. But at the same time, it's like, it's exactly what we're talking about. Who controls what democracy is? And what it's capped off to be and what it can do. And it's just like, at the end of the day, what do I do? It's not about me, it's not about him, it's not about us, it's about people that's gonna come after us. So it's like, how can I generate this space to not be so as, you know, punching? Because every debate round is like, do I quit? Like, is it gonna work? Because it seems like it's not. Like, do I quit? It's not. It's like the style of debate that we take, the perspective of debate we take, that is not new. So it's been other people with the same aesthetics that have cried for the same problems. So it's like when you read the evidence that says that these people are calling for help, they're asking for help. It's like we have people in debate who's been asking for help for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. We go back to movies like The Great Debaters, and it was like, okay, they want to talk about Vietnam then. They want to talk about lynching. So it was like, should we forget about the reality we face in America, which is lynching, and focus on the Vietnamese? We're not saying that our problem is bigger than the Vietnamese problem, but though, is it some type of ethical responsibility to take care of these problems that we have here? Because it is a reality that us two being black, you know, with most of y'all being white, that we are 6 times likely to be incarcerated than you are, based off our skin color. Like, we both in college, both trying to do something good for each other, but at the same time, this is a problem within America. It's a problem that our justice system has created. So when do we start focusing on the same type of systems and the same type of, you know, institutions that, you know, are oriented and like systematically structured in a sense to kind of capture other things, you know what I mean? Because it's like, debate is fun, it's cool, we love it. But at the same time, if I can't benefit from it, I can't take it back to the community, I can't take it back to the, you know what I mean, the people who don't get the privilege to see this activity, because we privileged to see this. Like, it's like, I go back home, and it's like, You go to OU? Like, yeah. You play football and basketball? It's like, no. It's like, what? I'm like, no. Why you go there for? Debate team? What? Get the fuck out of here. Not football or basketball? So it's like I'm studying fighting this stereotype of I've not been able to define myself. I'm being defined. It's like I see a 6'1" African American with dreadlocks. I automatically put him on the football or basketball team. But in the event when he's on the debate team, my gaze and what I had of him, it becomes destroyed. It's like, oh shit. So you're not just an athlete? So I feel like it should be some type of spillover, you know what I mean? I feel like within the debate space, some debates, I feel like I still feel like I'm not human in a sense. I become an object in the debate space. Identity politics, project, movement. It's like when I don't identify myself as that at all, and I'm called it, it's like, so I really didn't get the opportunity to have my argument. Then you already knew I was gonna say before I came in here, you know. And it's not just like Oklahoma has, you know, a team that talks about race. There's a few teams within the debate community that talks about race, but we all get grouped and lumped into the same group. So we all have different methodologies and different approaches that we take to the racial oppression issue, but we all get lumped into the same mold. I can't tell you how many times where I was in a debate round and the strategy I seen was a Louisville strategy or a Townsend strategy versus the Oklahoma team. It's like, I was like, okay, so I don't get to identify myself. I don't get to, I don't get to make myself human within this debate space. Am I always gonna be lumped in with some past shit, with some past stereotype, or with some?
Can I ask this real quick? Hey, how many folks in here ever actually really before you got into a round with some black debaters or something, like just in your own you know what I'm saying, debate room or whatever, like just raise your hand if you ever thought about real debate, ever thought about really making an action out of your stuff.
What do you mean by that?
Actually doing something about it.
I mean, there's something that I actually didn't want to say, I'll say it now, Rashid, we had a really good debate at TSU, and I really respect your argument, which is why I feel like I can really engage with you in this. And I really think that the idea that, for instance, the things that we debate about don't have an impact on our lives is a little bit too narrow for me. A good example of this is the immigration topic last year. Ryan always liked to make fun of me about this, but a lot of times in debates, I would actually talk about my family and my father in particular, who, my grandparents fled the Holocaust from Lithuania and Germany to go to South Africa. When they were in South Africa, they were pretty rigorous anti-apartheid demonstrators. My dad was going to get conscripted in the apartheid army. He was he morally objected to it. And he couldn't get a visa to come to the United States. There was a cap on J1 visas. And actually, when Ryan and I were prepping before the season last year, my dad, came home from work and, we were talking about immigration. We were just telling him, how terrible the immigration system was insofar as the process that he had to go through. He came here, he did his residency here, and he was going to get kicked out because it was a temporary visa. And when he was going to go back, he was going to get conscripted into the army against something that he was morally opposed to. And the thing about it is that it is true that a lot of the things that we debate about don't necessarily have an immediate impact on us, but it really actually did have an immediate impact on my family. I do come from a very privileged home. My dad works very hard. He's a very successful doctor. I do have a very privileged life, but that privileged life is because my dad was able to, batter through the immigration system and get political asylum because, he morally objected to what happened in his home country. And, as many times as Ryan and I read the, H-1B Act with the hedge impact, there was at some level, I finally could, after my dad had told me multiple times how hard the immigration system was, because I kept cards about the auctions counterplan, for instance, and learning about the caps and the process by which people would go through the passage of the immigration system. Actually, how difficult it is, and how many people here. I don't know how many people here come from other families, but I know Miles, one of my best friends. His dad fled a genocide, by going to another country, and it's yeah, it doesn't impact everybody, but it does actually impact a lot of people. And for the first time after debating the visa topic, I could really understand where my dad was coming from. It's like, my dad lived, in a place that wasn't only virulently racist, but also very anti-Semitic. Him and his friend were the only two Jewish kids that went to their school. The bullies were so anti-Semitic that they had to plan, if they wanted to go to the other one's house, how fast they had to run so that they wouldn't get beaten up. My dad was called like a Jew pig all the time. My, grandparents fled the Holocaust. Rashid, you talk about how coming here is like sort of like going to the Holocaust Museum. I'm very culturally Jewish, and that really resonated with me. I have been to the Holocaust Museum, both in Israel and Houston. I profusely cried when I was there. And the interesting thing about it is that democracy, which is something we're debating this year, has real relevance to that. And yes, it's not like, I can actually empathize with Libyan protesters, because I can't, and it would be absurd for me to think that I could. But the foundation of what we argue about does have relevance. It's not about pitting one group against another. It's not that, like, my grandparents who fled the Holocaust, my great uncle who could show me the tattoo on his arm had a worse, situation than, any of the people that you and, I believe your name is Jordan, I haven't met you before.
I'm George.
Yeah, George, sorry. Talk about it. But it's that the things we debate about have real relevance for us. And, real relevance for me. And, it's not like going into every debate I think about that. We lost the debate this morning to Misael, a good friend of mine, and I was, so mad. Everyone probably thinks I'm a dick about it, but the thing about it is that it's because of the competitive nature of the activity that I care so much about winning, any given debate, that I'll put so much time into it that, debating about Bahrain may not have so much relevance to me, but it's, the overall subjects that we debate about do have relevance to us. And even if the subjects don't, they're important for just being able to discuss things. I wrote our framework file, for instance, this year. And debating, Loyola last year really caused me a lot of consternation. We lost a debate last. The worst beatdown I've ever suffered in a debate was in the Octaves of the Coast, where we lost on death. It was so savage, I contemplated quitting. And you can ask Fitz about this. But the thing about it is, in the debate space, we cannot really change anything. We come here, it's an intellectual game, and really just, turns out to be like, who can really measure their intellectual wit. I go to bed and I'm thinking, how can I beat Markov and Arch at, the Kentucky tournament? But the thing about it is that what we argue about here really forces you to go beyond what you really think is commonplace. Death is good that Loyola just absolutely trashed us on is something that is so absurd, but it really forces you to question a lot of the fundamental things when you think about, when you guys talk about, for instance, like, utile good just becomes like a strategy to win a debate. I would never, ever, ever in my life think about the fundamental moral principles that guide my everyday action if it didn't mean that I could beat Markov again and, increase my record against him. And it's like, the competitive nature of debate is what makes people think about these very, very complex and intricate things that may or may not have relevance to our own personal life. For me, it actually does have relevance to my personal life. And debating about the immigration system, if it were only talking about my father, while, yes, morally important to me, would not have had the same effect, because it wouldn't have incentivized the amount that I learned about the system to be able to advocate for it, to talk to my dad, to actually empathize with the things that he went through, if it weren't filtered through a highly competitive forum where anything goes. Death good goes. Morally reprehensible arguments go. The thing about it is that the thing about debate that I really, really love, and that really makes me want to put my life into it to the point where I would basically sacrifice anything else to win a debate, is that it really makes you question a lot of fundamental things. Like, everybody I know is like the most hardcore Zionist ever, to the point of possibly being racist against, people who are Arab and Muslim. And, I'm still relatively pro-Israel, way more than a lot of other people, but, just thinking about those things changes the cultural context by which you think about the way that you talk to other people. You know,
Lenny, let me ask you a question. I just want to bring it back here.
Yes, right. I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant. I'm a little drunk.
And I want to ask the two people who have been speaking, how has being in this space, how do you think that has affected your argument? And I guess, as sort of a follow-up, do you think it's ethical to have a debate in a space that you find violent?
Can I follow this up because I chose the space. I'm the tournament director. Do you find it liberating or subjugating to be speaking right now here? Is it good or bad that this is your platform?
Like, honestly, it's almost like a paradox. Because at the same time when I couldn't sleep at night, the same reason why I couldn't sleep at night is the same thing that was keeping me from fighting my tiredness. Because at the same time I'm thinking like, man, this was a plantation house. What should have happened in this room? And if we went back to that time with me being who I am, what would happen to me? At the same time, it's like 50 years ago, our ancestors would have loved to be in this position. Look at the irony of this situation. We got the descendants of the slaves, you know what I mean, sitting in front of a room with the descendants of the slave master in a sense, and we're talking about how to better ourselves in a sense as a we. You know, and I would acknowledge that that's the beautiful thing about this activity. And we can stand up here and be like, look, guys, look, I couldn't do that nowhere else but collegiate debate. There's nowhere else I can do that. But at the same time, it was still that back and forth, like, man, what happened here? What happened here? What happened here? At the same time, like, man, I want to do it for them.
I know for me, as far as this being a violent space, this is a real violent space for me. Super violent. But the Loyola team was saying, it's like, they want to get the message to folks that, like, man, you can't, it's fucked up. Can't be having tournaments like in these type of places and stuff. I'm pretty sure I don't know if you took that in mind and stuff. But I think the paradox with me, you know what I'm saying, is saying that this is a violent space, but outside of that violence, like, we got to say this. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it creates something that's productive.
I'm not trying to, like, interrupt y'all, but that was kind of my question was, you know, what you said was right, that, like, white people don't think about those spaces. When I chose this hotel, it was because the Hilton that we normally did at wasn't free, and this was the only place with 16 event spaces to run the octos. But I get that, you know, that's the problem. So my question was just having this space now to get to do this, which has not happened at a tournament since I've ever been in college debate, is that positive or negative? I don't know.
It's almost the beauty of it again, I guess, and it's the paradox in a sense, because it's like you need men where we're not in the plantation home, you know what I mean? Arguing for democracy, ironically, you know what I mean? Like we gotta acknowledge that. Like this still the same. Like we still.
Because I feel like y'all wouldn't really understand if we wasn't in here.
Yeah, that same shit. Democracy, like it's like when we say no democracy. When we say like no democracy here in a sense, you know what I mean? And we use the word democracy, like that word has been used in many different ways through past time and throughout history. You know what I mean? When democracy is used, it usually resolves at the cost of somebody that looks like me getting the short end of the stick. You know what I mean? So it was like, so we're talking about democracy, and we in a slave plantation house. Like, democracy allowed for a slave plantation house to be a slave plantation house. You know what I mean? So it's like we're talking about democracy.
But that wasn't true democracy.
How do we define this democracy then?
But that's the point, I think, of what a lot of the discussions that we have in these debates are, is that the great thing about democracy is that it's self-reflexive, that it opens the possibility to keep correcting politics. You know, the thing about the Arab revolutions is that it really shows how a bunch of determined people who want to use their voice to create change can actually do that. And yeah, obviously, you know, when we're having most of these debates, we don't think about that because we're so focused on getting a win or a loss. But without the win or the loss, can any of us really say we would think about that?
Hold on, I got a question for you. How many debates do you honestly talk about democracy itself?
Pardon me?
How many debates do you honestly talk about, like, democracy. So
That's what I've said. It's very small, but it would literally be zero without it. Well,
I think to this issue, I mean, whether or not Lane really cares about democracy or not, what Lane has sort of said to me is that you can't quit, because if you quit, Lane doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, it come at a cost,
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, absolutely.
I'm 20 years old, and I feel like I'm a grown-ass man, but at the same time, 40% of the debates that I've experienced has led up to me crying. Like I got an example. Like somebody talk imperialism good. If imperialism has any good, I shall win. My whole argument is, according to who? Of course, imperialism has some good to somebody, but at the same time, the only reason why it's good to somebody is it's bad to somebody else. And that'd be the type of perspective we try to take of it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is how you're looking at it. You're looking at it for the greater good. I'm looking at it from what bad's going to bring. Because what bad's going to bring, historically, it's been affected by the people that look like me. So it's like, imperialism good. The same imperialism that enslaved the African and eradicated the Indian, that imperialism is good. Well, in the abstract, there's no such thing as in the abstract. Shit doesn't just happen. Things happen to people, by people. So it was like, and even when you say imperialism good, and I'm talking about all real life switch offs that came from imperialism, because like it's no secret that, the state of the African American community, that is a product, that is a manifestation, that is a cost, a price. That's the end product. That's the end product of imperialism. You know what I mean? The ghettos. You know what I mean? The housing discrimination, the lowly funded education. Like that's where we come from. So how do we bring light to that within this democracy? Because this democracy, I feel like it don't take care of me. It's like when we get up in the debate space and really say that, I really feel that. 20 years old, born and raised in a democratic nation, in a democratic state. But at the same time, when I go back and I look at, like right now we're 20, we've been out of high school for a minute. When I look at the people that went through the education system, those that who wasn't on the AP honor roll classes that's on a regular level, it did nothing for them, nothing for the community. They went to school, they got out of school, and they went to the same cycles that we try to get away from. Selling drugs, going to jail, fighting. The same democracy. So when we able to me be ironic, it's like, damn, you do realize that same exact problem and issue that's identified abroad, that same exact issue is here.
I mean,
so when is it part of the perspective? Because it doesn't affect the ruling class, it doesn't affect the perspective, or from a utilitarian perspective, it wouldn't matter.
I think come back to, you know what I'm saying, I was thinking about these things just to create some like structure and stuff to answer your question and to get back to the discussion and stuff. To answer your question, for me personally, I don't want to come in no more. You know what I'm saying? That's just I don't want to turn into be at this social. That's just me though. But inside of that, like the paradox was that I think it was some productive shit. Hopefully for y'all, you know what I'm saying, came out of it being here. You know what I'm saying? To the discussion, which I do want to happen, is, and this is like the question I'm throwing out because I want to keep y'all and stuff, and if you guys have to go and stuff, because I know like a couple people left and stuff, I do want y'all to understand, like, again, I'm kind of reiterating this, but the reason why I'm expressing this is so y'all can just think about these things, you know what I'm saying? Think about it, and maybe come up with, like y'all, like I said, y'all smart as hell, maybe I can come up with something that'll be productive for debate, as well as we have this competitive notion. You know what I'm saying? Lane's talking about, but in general, I know you was gonna say something. I don't know if you was trying to say something too, but go ahead.
Yeah, this isn't going to be as like eloquent as I want it to be because I'm thinking a bunch of different things at once. But I guess the first thing I wanted to say is that thank you for speaking to us. It took a lot of. tell you to do anything, because if there's anything that I've learned from what y'all have both told all of us tonight is that I don't want you to feel like an object, and I understand that you do have the capacity to choose whether or not to be in the activity. But I think that I have learned a lot just from listening to y'all speak, and it meant a lot to me to hear what y'all had to say about the activity tonight. And I guess this is a bit selfish of me to say, but I think that if you quit, all of these smart people that you're talking to right now would never be able to hear what you're having to say. And I think it's very, very powerful that y'all have put yourself on the line, on the chopping block, like you said, and we're willing to stand up in front of all of us and say that. And it means a lot to me that you're willing to leave yourself out there like that in front of all of us. And I'm just going to ask y'all a question instead of argue with you, is that debate by its nature is a competitive activity, right? Mm-hmm. There's a win and a loss. That's an inevitable part of it. There's seating and everything. I want to know how y'all think debate could resolve the fact that there is a winner and a loser to be more accommodating of the things that y'all are concerned about.
I think the spillover education thing. I that's the basis of I think what it is. I had a few ideas about those who actually win tournaments, like whoever wins the NET, whoever wins CETA, who has some ideas around something in the community. I know a lot of y'all know doctors and lawyers and stuff and have real leeway to do things. I'm saying might be some responsibility to, carry over that win into something that was going to be actually productive or something. And maybe that could be the hook. And I feel like this is not just beneficial to those who, I want to make this point too. It's not just beneficial to me and George and stuff. That's identifying a problem and stuff, and those who's getting the fucked up side of the util. It's beneficial to those who already are in this privileged state. Not just because I'm giving y'all awareness, but in the whole policy debate circuit and stuff, the debate community. I know the whole I don't know if y'all ever spoke to Louisville cats or the young cats or the New Towson cats. When I hear what they say after rounds, I'll be like, what? Is it a coincidence that every black person want to quit after they have a, debate round? If they talk about why everybody want to quit? You know what I'm saying? And I'm the last person. What, quit? I don't give a damn. You can say racism good. I'm okay, let me come with my shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to just give up like that. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying it takes a lot for me to get mad. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot for me to get emotional. Then it takes a lot for me to quit. You feel me? But in that same context, I'm saying to the extent to where we can actually, those smart people have a sense of responsibility, just like me and George. Since we come from this hood and stuff, I know some folks will say I got a MacBook Pro. I ain't gonna say how I got the MacBook Pro, but I got a MacBook Pro. I got it. So folks will be like, you got a MacBook Pro. You ain't in the hood no more. What is you complaining about? You know what I'm saying?
Really, your mind is that shallow? You know what I mean?
But I think it takes more into this responsibility thing. So when I'm saying y'all smart, I'm not saying y'all smart to compliment y'all. Matter of fact, it makes me mad that y'all smart sometimes. When I hear smart people, I call them dumb. You dumb motherfucker. You're the smartest dumb person. But you know what I'm saying? The dumbest smart person. Yeah, dumb switch. But anyway, into the sense to where I feel like you guys have responsibility. So it's not so much to when people tell me, I think Ben Cross, I don't know if y'all know him, but he was telling me I'm gonna have to do something like this. And he was saying, when he told me, I'm like, oh man, thanks, man, you think I'm that good to speak in front of people? Oh, thanks. He was like, nah. I'm saying because you have to. It's not a case into where we are in a situation to where we as smart people, we as those people who have gained this knowledge and been in this privileged situation and have this response. You know what I'm saying? We have a responsibility to those people. If y'all really talking about our moral obligation, let's moral obligate ourselves.
But then why are we here?
To compete. It's a game, but it can be productive as well.
But the thing is that the reason why imperialism good is such a morally reprehensible argument is all the more reason why the debate space is amazing, because it's the one place where you're rewarded only for defending an argument. The thing is that if it is true that we all need to be advocates for change, If we in the debate space cannot all beat the imperialism good arguments, what hope is there for there ever to be change to answer people who defend imperialism good? Because all of the arguments, that are spread by every morally reprehensible group in the world require refutation. And that refutation does not happen absent being able to understand the opposite side. And the thing is that the reason why the debate space is great is because Rashid, when we debated you...
Can I stop you real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I think you're kind of like missing the boat here. I've had an awesome privilege of working with Rashid and George over the last couple of years. They're two really amazing young men. Not quite grown-ass men yet, George. I think that it's really a problem here to not really be hearing what they're saying. Like, you're having can I finish?
Yeah, of course.
Hear what I say?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. It's not debate's bad. It's not. They're not. Everything you're saying, I don't think these dudes have a problem with. What they're saying is about the next level. And I think what Rashid is asking people, and the question that Rashid asked initially, is not what is good about what we do in debate, but how many of us take those things that we learn and apply them towards a progressive or anything that you're talking about that you learn in debate. This isn't a personal attack. I'm not saying you don't do this, but I think we're kind of missing the boat in a lot, and that it's not about debate good, bad. Debate brought us together, right? The competition brought us together. The competition of debate is why we got Rashid in Oklahoma. And we're so happy about that. That's why George came to us on our campus. And I think what they're asking is that the responsibility that Rashid is talking about is the responsibility to take all of that good shit you're talking about and make sure that it doesn't stay here.
But the problem, and Gabe, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I've never interpreted any of this discussion to be like agonistic argumentation is bad. My point is to say that, when, for instance, Rashid's explanation of, why are we caring about, for instance, Vietnamese people, I believe, was the example, when there are problems here. Or why is it important to say that, argue that util's good when util's obviously bad? Or why is it good to argue about why imperialism is good when imperialism is obviously bad? I'm saying that those debates are so unbelievably valuable because they are so not commonplace. Because the problem is that ideology really is the problem in the world behind every social and political problem really boils down to ideology, in my personal opinion. I've thought about this a lot because I don't really think about anything besides debate.
And that's their point.
Right.
I want to open up this discussion, dude, and it's cool, you're drunk, you're talking a lot, and it's cool, but I think that the kind of, they're not wrong, no one's saying, I'm not attacking you, I'm trying to move the discussion to something that I think is more
the fact that you're not attacking me is what I'm saying, which is that in none of these discussions is there ever a personal attack. It's not, I don't think Rashid is, correct in his personal convictions. It's not that I think you're attacking me. It's that this is an agonistic process of argumentation, and that is what debate is, that is awesome.
And everyone here loves that.
Right, but the thing is that, to use debate analogy, there's a uniqueness argument, which is that, absent me thinking about debate all the time, which ultimately comes down to me thinking about, why is imperialism good versus imperialism bad, what would I be doing with the rest of my time? Well, it would probably be that I would be getting drunk at parties and, doing a bunch of schoolwork.
Right, but I understand that you have a disagreement, but there are 30 more people here than you, and they're asking everyone else. Can you just
I'm done now. I think I've said what I was had to say.
I have a small question. It's an actual question. It's not like a speech or anything. How do you? And I understand a lot of the things you're saying about how you want the community to engage outside of the debate space. When people do debate you within the debate space, what do you think the most sort of productive way is to do that and simultaneously have a debate? And that's a real question because I don't know what kind of answer.
So it's like the most. I feel like the reason why my criticism in it is when I step into a debate and I'm stepping into a debate as a person who feels like they're inside from outside living within or whatever, and it's okay, I'm coming to you as a constituent of this, American democratic process that we have. But it seemed like my opponent is always able to separate themselves so much. Was I don't see that what you're talking about. I'm not a part of that. Really separate the first conviction from the second conviction. Was you know what? Even though ethically or morally imperialism may be wrong, I'm going to separate myself from that conviction. I'm going to argue imperialism good. It's like that's the same subconscious that was like, you know what, guys? Slavery probably is wrong. It probably is wrong. But for the greater good of the economy, let's do it. And it was that same subconscious of being able to separate, you know what I mean, your personal conviction from the actual material reality. That separation, that's what allowed for women's suffrage and Chinese exclusion acts, and Indian removal acts, and you know what I mean, and bombings. That separation. It's like, that's the criticism right there, you know what I mean? It's like, how come you're not a part of this America I'm talking about? When I talk about these problems, how come it's like, what about them over there? But they're better over there. It's like the separation. It's like, damn, so you're not in America? Or you're not worried about this? It's that separation. It's like, because it's like how I'm looking at it in a sense, coming from like a pedagogy of the oppressed in a sense, like I don't have that ability. Literally, I don't have the ability to separate myself from the material reality I live in to like the one I fantasize about, the one I romanticize about.
Let me check something out real quick. I think everybody, and I think Keegan actually told me this. We would when George would say like he would like talk about stuff like he get affected like imperialism good, like that just like you know what I'm saying, spoke out to him, like, you know what I'm saying, we was in tears about it. But it's not so much to where like we at least my perspective of the debate community is that like all you motherfuckers is just like super right-wing Republicans, or some of them might be Republicans, so it's all good. You know what I'm saying? It's good. But you know what I'm saying, super right-wing, they just don't give a damn about black people. Like that's not the thing, right? Like to a certain extent, I think Keegan was right. Like a lot of y'all, you know what I'm saying, super understanding, even to just be in this room and stuff. Like y'all still listening. You know what I'm saying? Even if some of y'all really don't get it, I feel like a lot of y'all still get it. So I mean, a lot of y'all still listening. So I think to answer your question, I feel like everybody in the debate community, at least I would believe, and I think it would be good nature to believe. I don't think it would be bad faith, so that everybody is morally good. Everybody wants good. Even though we're debating two different things, we're still trying to get to the same endpoint. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have a different way of trying to get to that endpoint, essentially. That's right, to the most part? Right? So, inside that sense, I feel like the productivity will come outside, like, I mean, just one idea, and we can come up, and I feel like it'll be dope if we had a panel about this, because y'all beautiful minds, like I said, like, and we can actually do something to where, like, the coaches, you know what I'm saying, meet up and have discussions about this. But I do feel like those people who are in this winning position, or who, you know what I'm saying, who actually win debates, or, you know what I'm saying, have these, like, good ideas and stuff, have the responsibility as a debater for university or whatever to make some type of action outside of it. And I don't think it's like, of course, when you're like, you better do something for your community, but it's more so like something to where, like, you understand, or us as a community put each other in a position to where we can do something and where we feel ourselves to do things. Like I said, everybody in here has, I know y'all got stupid connections with, you know what I'm saying, with and everybody around all of the country. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that alone, that we are sitting here and we have these connections, I feel like that's stupid that we don't do anything about it. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say you're the dumbest smart person I know. Like, literally. And I was like, because coming from a person who's just a simple-minded Rashid that was in East Oakland, that didn't want to read no books because I was too hungry, I didn't want to go to school because they was talking about U.S., you know what I'm saying, mama alcoholic, daddy's home, you know what I'm saying, all I hear is gunshots. Like, man, there's probably some smart-ass people that can help me. Where they at? You know what I'm saying? So I can't debate, I'm just saying. So maybe, hopefully I'm answering your question. The answer to your question is I don't have a solid answer. And I think that's the point. You know what I'm saying? Just because and I know she has something to say too.
Oh yeah, no. First, I defer.
I want to start by saying I know we thanked you all for talking, but I want to say thanks to Loyola because I thought that was
I was about to
really
say
brave and just sort of like obviously the starting point for having any discussion. They
crazy.
I don't think they're in this room anymore, which is sort of weird. But
whatever.
I just want to say thanks to them for starting the discussion, and I guess this might be just sort of a rephrasing of the question. But I guess, given everything that you've talked about that are obviously important issues, I feel like a lot of what you've described, in some part, they're obviously manifested in this debate community, but when you talk about the justice system and sort of the flaws in that system, those things that sort of structurally exist outside this community. And at the end of the day, if we're really honest with ourselves, this is an academic community where we sit around and talk to each other a lot, and nobody, I go home and nobody has any idea what I've done for the whole weekend. And I started with those questions a lot coming into college about whether or not my college time was better spent sort of just engaging in something that seemed like pure academia, or whether I should, be involved in different very active groups on my community campus or on my college campus, and that those questions are things that I think every debater at some point has had to resolve. Why do we choose to spend just like hours doing this instead of doing things that are outside of this community? I feel like a lot of the things that you've described are actions that we could take outside of this community. And so I guess my question is, what unique role for the way that you've talked about this is the debate community supposed to play? Because I feel like I've heard a lot of discussions like this occur where there's sort of at the end of the discussion, you say talk is not enough. And I'm just curious what a debate round, this is what I mean by it might be just a rephrasing, but what is a debate round besides talk? And what I want to say is sort of what I think that what I ultimately came to as valuable and sort of, and maybe it sounds way too much like a framework debate, and Lane wrote our file, I didn't, but I like the file. But that talking about things like the United States federal government should do X has value because outside of the debate, I become a better advocate for changes in things like the justice system. Like this is, marches happen and racial changes happen, or women's suffrage, which is maybe something that I can feel a little more strongly. Those things changed in part from social movements that resulted in people who could challenge the federal government directly. And I thought there was a great speaker at the NDT last year who talked about the way that specific policy discussions were important in her winning a Supreme Court case that had a really direct impact on somebody who was sort of fleeing a country and wanted to stay in the United States and with their family. And I guess I think that, for me, holds value in the debate activity, is instrumentally, in a framework debate, instrumentally defending federal government action and having that discussion. That's the mechanism that makes sense to me of how we can take that and move it outside of the community. What should the round do to resolve it in your mind? We are just talking, and yes, I agree there's so many things that we should take action about and do outside of the community. What should the round be?
I feel like I feel like it would be almost. I'm not saying that I should be the one or somebody else should be. I'm not saying. I'm not explicitly saying who should be the one to draw the line. But it's like, where do we draw the line on competition? You know what I mean? So it's like, racial oppression is bad, but if we don't do what I say, this country's gonna bomb this country. We all gonna die of nuclear extinction. Like, really? How is this productive? And how is this?
But if that's so obviously bad, you should be able to beat it. That's why debate's great.
Okay, I don't think that they're saying that those kinds of discussions are bad. I think that, yes, policy discussions are very good. It's just a question of when you come into a round and want to talk about these personal things that they are pushed on the back burner because of those discussions, which are already happening anyways, and they don't create a space that allows these kinds of discussions.
I guess I just want to know, what should those discussions look like? Why in the debate community? What does it do to have a discussion in a round where if those discussions occur on both sides, I would love to engage you directly in this conversation. I think that's really valuable that the win was sacrificed here because we can have those, but debates are competitive, and they are, and how do we have those discussions in a competitive atmosphere? Why should those occur in a debate space? And how is that positive, I guess, for both sides creating action?
Well, my answer to what the debate space would look like in that world, I guess I would say, is the exact the same it looks here. But the only difference is for one, Lane's portion, and maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, that portion to where they are free to say imperialism good, hell, they can say slavery good. You know what I'm saying? Which I know nobody want to inherently say, but when you say imperialism good, to me in Georgia, it sounds like you're saying slavery good. So, ain't no difference to me, right? But that's just our interpretation. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the point to where it's like, I'm free to say this, I think that's a positive to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying
I gotta be able to stick you to it though.
Yeah.
Like, do you really believe that? It's like any event where I ask you in CX, do you agree with what you said?
Yeah.
And the reply is personally, or it's like, wow, so you have separated yourself so much within this debate space that you got to answer the question, are you asking me personally or are you asking me competitively?
Yeah.
And if so, why is there a difference? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it seems like every time it's like, Yeah, but if we don't do what I say, this country's going, you know what I mean, extinction. Okay, extinction. Like, really?
But in that sense, to where when you talk about these type of subjects and you have the freedom to say that, I always say, like, to answer these questions, and not in a metaphor, but kind of being specific to where, like, I talk about my travel. I think it's, like, not a coincidence that I moved from a liberal state to Oklahoma, which is, like, well, Norman is kind of cooler at daytime, but, you know what I'm saying? But to a more, you know what I'm saying, like, right-wing state, you know what I'm saying? Because in the sense to where I was, like, in a liberal state, I was like, man, I wish folks would say it was real, because Sarah was like the first person who taught me debate, like at the debate camp. She was like, yeah, guys, like, this is debate, this is NAF. You know what I'm saying? She was kind of like super like, I don't want to step on the toes here, but I hope you understand. I was like, man, just say it. You know what I'm saying? Like, say it. Like, so to the point to where you're able to say it, I think is beautiful. But I think that, to answer your question, at the end of us saying, at the end of us having conversation, it's still dumb as smart people for no action to be produced out of that. Does that happen to you? And I know, I'm not giving you a solid like situation to where we do something or a political action. But the next level of debate is, the next level of debate is that we talk about is that I know like Davon and Deverick and Adam and stuff. Y'all heard about the thing they was doing in Baltimore? And like actual politics stuff, like most of y'all, I don't want to put y'all in a position, most of y'all going to go into politics are going to do something that's going to have some change on some community anyway. But if you have the mentality and the breeding ground, the training ground, however y'all said, the role-playing good ground or whatever, now, you know what I'm saying? Then once you get there and it's actually going to be some type of sufficient change, and inside a debate we should... I feel like give incentives or produce the type of mentality that these things are good. So when I say like the folks who win, like winning shouldn't just be like you win. Okay, good job, you got a trophy, you the shit. It should be like you win. What you gonna do now since you the smartest? Yeah, exactly. Since you the smartest, make an action out of it. Because it's dumb for you to be the smartest and not do nothing about it. Because we don't have the responsibility. Me and him don't have the privilege to be smart and not do nothing about it. Every time George speaks his intelligence in class and stuff, folks walk out the class like, damn, man, I really got to think about this shit. I really got to do something. I really got to do homework now, George? Oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like it's something like, it's definitely like deep psychological in a sense, right? So when we talk about Arab Spring, we have totally detached North Africa from the African continent. It's Arab now. Damn, I thought Yemen was in Africa. But now it's the Arab Spring. You know what I mean? Or it's the Middle East. You know what I mean? I feel like, why have you just totally just bastard these North African countries? You know what I mean? They ain't even African no more.
And I think, Peyton, your example of Lindsay Harrison is a success story for what they're talking about, which is she did that successfully here, learned a whole bunch of good stuff about the system, and then went out and did stuff. I mean, she defended a case in front of the Supreme Court, which helped people. And so I think that might be something for you to look into as sort of like, what you are doing is good. They support what you are doing because you are learning lots of things, as long as you do something like Lindsay did, which is go out and do stuff afterwards.
I mean, a lot of us like to believe that we'll be Lindsay Harrison's and Neil Katyal's.
Yeah, Debricks and, Davon.
Davon, who run for Baltimore City Council, right?
Yeah, right.
But are you going to do it?
See, that's my point.
You're going to talk about learning that so that you can do it? You're going to let other people do it for you? Or do you really believe that what you're learning means that you will do it?
That's real.
Maybe one thing. Hold on. Even, I really want to hear what you got to say.
This is what we're going to do. Hold on. Let's create some one thing. Everybody raise your hand. I know you had your hand up. We're going to go from here. You want to say something? Well, all right. Let's start here.
I see your
I'm just curious because I judge this debate where many of the things you're talking about as examples of some pretty repellent and kind of ethically reprehensible argumentation at first. And while judging these debates, there's always a conflict between how does the critic resolve kind of their pedagogical commitment to allow the arguments to play out within the debate sphere, and their desire to not turn around into a referendum on their own personal ethics, because that's us dictating the debate into who says things that we agree with more. How do we reconcile or balance that versus the kind of desire to not affirm ethically problematic arguments? Judging debates like that becomes a very difficult, problematic, where which of your commitments to the values of the activity, speaking ethically, not affirming unethical business, or letting the arguments play out so that there's educational value about them, or not dictating the terms of the debate based on my own preferences. I don't know how to reconcile those when judging a debate like that. I'm just curious to hear your perspective about how you'd like critics to go about that process.
And I think these things tie in a little bit. When we go to I'm saying I have this good faith in the debate community that everybody wants to do something productive. This is the same way that it goes into the same thing to where I answer her question. And I said the debate community will look exactly the same, right? So inside of the debate space to where you judged our round, and we said some real shit, and they said some debate shit. You know what I'm saying? Not to say
that's an accurate.
But we said once we say our real shit, they say that debate shit. They win on their debate shit. That's okay. You still judged around like you would judge. Okay, I put my moral standings out there in the round, right? I told you exactly everything about the hotel and stuff. I told a whole bunch more inside my verses and stuff. From that alone, I'm like, if you were just morally going off of that, you should vote for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm literally just because I'm the diss-ad to whatever they're saying, no matter what. No matter if I don't say nothing into it or not, right? But the thing is I feel like even within their debate shit, once they win, I still feel like they can produce something productive for the community. You know what I'm saying? That's why I draw the line to where I'm saying, the real shit that we're doing, we're not saying it's superior, but we putting it out there to where it's something else that y'all are missing that's clear. I'm standing in front of you. You know what I'm saying?
Quite dig.
You know what I'm saying? So just before you go, you would judge it exactly the same. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm creating this simplicity to it because I know it's kind of a complicated situation, but in essence, you would see who debates better, and the debaters will have the community to where they already have the pressure to do something that's productive. Because I feel like they know, you know what I'm saying, what's right and wrong, you know what I'm saying? Might say something that's offensive, but at the end of the day, you know what's right, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that productive community is not what's right.
But what is my knowledge of what I know is right or ethical? Should that influence how I evaluate the arguments in the debate?
Yes, but it should influence you to where you just go one-sidedly. You understand those ethical arguments, but if I don't debate those ethical arguments right to where they out-debate me, they win. You know what I'm saying? That's the competition part. But I still don't feel like the basis of what I'm saying is I don't feel like since they won, I don't feel like, oh shit, all the real shit is just out the window. We have to produce real shit even within the debate sphere because we never say debate shit bad. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just trying to figure out where
you'd like to see that balance. I'm looking at it from a standpoint of where it's we have to line by line debate. Majority of debates I've lost has come where it's okay, you were ahead on this, you head on this argument, this argument, this argument, but they got you right here. This little part right here, they got you right here. You didn't answer this part. It's this part you didn't answer. It's okay, so that outweighs all of the quote unquote the real shit that they didn't answer, they didn't talk about. That outweighs, you know what I mean? This little small part I missed because it seems like it's almost where it's the line-by-line debate kind of privileges or advances a type of perspective in comparison to the other. Because it's in the event when I get up and it's okay, I talked about this, and this. They said nothing about it, but yet what I didn't say, it's been outweighed to the real shit almost in a sense. You know what I mean? It's okay, you lose because you didn't really engage in them or spend enough time with them on the UTIL argument or on the CAPK or on the topicality or on the framework. You know what I mean? You didn't do it enough. But at the same time, it's Like, man, but they ain't answer a lot of my stuff either, though. So how come what I answered outweighs what they didn't answer? You know what I mean?
You think those concepts are like what we're saying is to probably make take the, you know what I'm saying, the social position that he's talking about a little bit more seriously, right? So to the point to where you understand the arguments and understand, like, if Loyola comes in around and say deaf good, you know what I'm saying, and then say like, well, fuck debate. If I should be able to say something in 1A, whatever, you know, 1AC, and then like if they say, I'm not going to say nothing to rebuttal, but we should still win, right? So, in based on, that's like an extreme example, because based on your interpretation, like, how do I judge this? You know what I'm saying? Because I know judges are put in a position to where they're like crazy. This summer at like the little high school, I had to judge my first time. I was like, damn, I know how I feel now. That shit is wild. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I understand exactly what it is, right? But I think it also comes down to your philosophical truth and you understanding who just debated better. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they won that, like, I feel like they should win. But the end result to what we're talking about, right, is not necessarily who wins. It's like, how do we create that win as something that's an action? You know what I'm saying?
So as long as the techne of debate, so to speak, informs action that we take for ethical good, then everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you have to, like you know what I'm saying, like you say that the techne, like, you have to understand that the techne shouldn't be allowed.
It should not be allowed to completely override substance, but it kind of has to inform substance. Otherwise, you literally have debate critics inserting themselves about their opinions of substance into the debate. There would be no chance to override that. It would be a race to say what I agreed with most first.
Yeah, but I feel like when you look at it from like how I'm looking at it from a sense, in the same debate where I hear Cap K and how bad capitalism is, but then that same debate, you talk about like technical stuff, like take K in a sense. It's like you have to have a certain type of social comfort or luxury to be able to reach out and access those things. So in the event where I can't access these technical, you know what I mean, debate rhetoric or the technical thing, and I'm punished for it in a sense where it's like, well, they just more technical than you. It's like,
so you take that in mind, you know what I'm saying? So, but if he doesn't say that, then you know what I'm saying, he loses. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that. What I'm gonna do right now is,
real quick,
for everybody that's in,
I just wanted to say something on this point specifically.
Oh, we about to give y'all like a chance to, like, you know what I'm saying, speak in a second. Get your, where you put
It was about this particular question. Because like the first time we debated them last year, we didn't really have a debate. Like we just sort of like agreed, like chatted it up, and Nader Haddad was judging us, and after the round, he voted for them and called us a minstrel show, and like we got real pissed. He tried to fight Jack tried to fight him. Sweet. We weren't even drunk or nothing, like sober. But so like obviously our community espouses to judge objectivity, right? And like you can't intervene and all that shit. But honest to God, like that more than any other decision I got all of last year fucked me up. Like I spent a lot of time thinking about the way that I approached the other debaters, and like it just caused a bunch of reflexivity, and I understand that it wasn't objective, but it made me think more, and so like you all were getting at a resolution. I'm about that, right? Fuck that. This is tricky. This is not this easy. I think we have to ask ourselves the extent to which espousing objectivity or privileging competition and like objective evaluation of that competition comes at a greater cost. And I'm the kid who reads Death Good. Right? There might be a larger sacrifice being made while we're all.
Can I ask something though? So last year at the NBT of your ELM debate, when Dallas didn't vote for you, that obviously was an instance where objectivity was suspended. I mean, Dallas probably would disagree with that, but he said plan focus is good, and that's not really what the debate was about. So that seems to be an instance to me that objectivity can be suspended in a way that is not progressive. In other words, you're talking about objectivity that's suspended in an effort to that's kind of in the truthfulness, progressiveness of our activity.
Yeah.
But, as good as I mean, I love this debate community. I chose to do this as my profession. I choose to teach people how to debate because I think that there is everlasting value to it. I also understand that there are people that are here that don't agree with the progressive element. And so if we suspend objectivity, I worry that that is on that worse for some people. Now, maybe there's an equal number on both sides or something, and it balances out, and you learn from even the kind of rightist assholes who are not objective. But there seems to be a problem in the assumption that that objectivity only goes in one way to help sort of progressive struggles.
I was just, and this is sort of dovetailing with what Lane was saying, the idea that competition drives the most introspection. I don't know if that's true. Like this was an instance in which I'm a debater. Of course, I got buffed, right? Like this is, I won the debate, blah, blah, blah. But it made me think a whole lot. Like, I've never been called a minstrel show. Like, that fucked me up real bad. And it wasn't just like that day. It was like for the next couple weeks. It's like, was I acting like I was empathizing when I shouldn't have been? Was that a farce? Like, I don't know. Like, intervention obviously has potential for negative effects. It's just, so does objectivity.
Yo, what I want to do really quick is, because like I said, this is not, obviously, like I say, y'all understand what, for the most part, what I'm trying to say here. So this is not a place to where I felt like we was going to come to like some solid solutions and be like, cool, that's what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't the point of this. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Okay, let's do it. But I think you guys understand it. It's just like thinking about these things and expressing it. And I don't want this. This is my thing, right? And this is the conclusion. And I want to give y'all space to speak and stuff. But I don't want those folks who leave it to miss the conclusion.
Carry on, boys.
I don't want people to miss the conclusion that, for one, the whole sacrificial thing is like, I think it's dope that y'all understood it, because maybe I didn't give y'all enough credit. I thought it was just gonna go like way over y'all head. So you know what I'm saying? I kind of underestimated it, but I think that y'all understand it for the most part. The fact that we're in this hotel, I think it gave us that paradox to understand this thing. You know what I'm saying? Even though my spiritual uncomfort, it's like whatever. But the third thing, and this is the most important thing too. I started an organization on campus my second semester of my freshman year that was pertaining to the black community and identifying the social problems that we go through on a day-to-day basis are never identified by our predominantly white institution because they don't know it. They literally don't understand, you know what I'm saying, like what goes on, you know what I'm saying, in that community, which is understandable. But at the end of my organization, every meeting that we have, I always say, like, man, don't let these things just be said, because that's what kills everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if y'all really understand what I'm saying and stuff, and y'all officials, because I'm speaking to like the coaches now, those people are in these positions, like you and those other people who have some say that's really going to matter. I mean, every debater has to say and stuff, but those folks who actually can punch a number or, you know what I'm saying, hit something that's going to make something happen. You know what I'm saying? Y'all hear me? Yeah. To those people, and to everybody who has influence on those people, I want you guys to not take this as something that was just said because it was in this hotel, you know what I'm saying, that somebody had some emotion tied to it. It was something that was said, and it was something that's being because it's something that's supposed to be happening next, right? I'm not a person, and I'm not tying spirituality or any religion titles, but I'm not a person who always believes in things happen like for coincidences, like, oh, it just happened to be here. Oops. No, I think that it was really a reason to why I got up here and said this, and I know hopefully it affected some of y'all. So if you guys have to leave, please think about these things, and please take these things into mind and do something about it. Literally, I want, and maybe I can talk to my coaches about setting up the panel with them folks and stuff, but in general, like, create that action. Y'all got me? Yeah. So before y'all leave, I want to just talk about y'all. So right now we're gonna do, but he was there. So we're gonna do it. That's cool.
I want to hear what you guys say though.
I actually had a question before people leave. I think that it's been awesome because you talked about things people just wouldn't see. I don't think people would look at this hotel room and imagine what happened here without you all seeing them. I think there are things when you experience the world in a certain way that you see that other people don't see. And one thing I'm just worried about that I think is really positive but also kind of worrisome is that I've heard a lot of people say, well, when I grow up, I can take the things that I've done here and then I can do some good. Once I'm in a position, where I have some institutional power. And I just think that I think it's been said a lot of times that there are a lot of people in this room who have really well-meaning intentions, but I think that, for example, like the hotel room and like, what this was, they just wouldn't see it. And so I guess my question is, a lot of people, once they see things about the world that are messed up, feel compelled to change them, but don't see them immediately if it isn't a part of their social location or if it isn't a part of their experience. So for people here that are going to go back home, to areas that are incredibly materially wealthy or don't feature a lot of the things that need changing, how, if you haven't had that experience, can people learn to look at the world and see things that aren't immediately obvious to them? I know that's a really broad question, but I feel like people have to be able to see that.
Like, a good way to answer it in a sense, though, is like, when I get up, and I have a half or a neg or whatever, I'm talking about this mode of oppression. Not only listen, it's acknowledge it. You say, it's cool to say but if you don't say yeah before you say but, it's almost like damn, you just marginalize the whole African American experience within. It's like though I'm talking about my perspective of being I as an individual, how I see the world, like the problems is not my personal problems. You know what I mean? I'm not speaking for my whole community, but at the same time, the problems I'm talking about is on similarly relate to my community. You know what I mean? So it's like where do we orient ourselves to in a sense? You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, I would answer it simply in just in a metaphor situation. So, like, if those folks are going back to these wealthy communities, because I feel like my community now is a wealthy community, it's much better than where I was in Norman. I feel like, think about this. I feel like the thought of having some type of shock to, like, your frame to where you're, for a second, taken out of your privilege and luxury of not having to think about this and have to think about this and become uncomfortable around these, like, thoughts, then I think that puts you in a position to make the right decision. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like somebody like Jackie go through that all the time. Like, just having problems with, like, our scholarship or doing some stuff, like, he'd just be like, damn, I'm in this position to where privilege, and since he sees us, like, we there, and he's recognizing that, he's going to do the right thing. He already know what we want. You know what I'm saying in that sense? Because, like I said, people and debaters, and y'all can debate this to the end and stuff, say that their opinions are so different. Like, oh, we are so, this Democrat is so different than this Republican. Like, we are so different. You know what I'm saying? Like, not the same person. Me, I listen to what you're saying. Just like I listen to a Christian person, listen to a Muslim person, I'm like, y'all don't sound that different to me. I was like literally, you might have a different rap for how you're trying to get to it, but I know you're trying to get to it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm answering like that to not give you a specific answer because I know in the sense to where you are compelled by these things, you'll make a decision upon that that notion of acknowledging and saying that, yeah, before you say, but, you know what I'm saying?
But.
Say, yeah, that is right.
How can we help
but we can do that better. I know somebody that can go ahead and just get that credit right now. Y'all going the hard way. You know what I'm saying?
Like, how come that debate has to be about topicality, about how not topical, about like, framework, or about cap K? You know what I mean? How come it's not about what the debate was about? You know what I'm saying? It's like when I stand up, I talk about explicitly, and I go into detail about, you know what I mean, this mode or this issue, this problem. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like I'm never engaged on that level. It's like, I don't want to talk about that. So instead, I'm talking about how you're not topical. I don't want to talk about these problems and issues you identify with, you acknowledge. I don't want to talk about that. So I'm going to talk about how we talk about this. It will solve everything you talk about without applying that real application or without applying that real solvency mechanism. You know what I mean? It's like hold on. A big crook or like a big type of like criticism in a sense, like something I had like in a sense with debate or whatever. It's like the solvency. We solve. So, if I'm talking about racism, which has been a problem, we acknowledge has been a problem throughout America and the United States for hundreds of years, and you get up and you say, I solved, like, after this debate space go, you know what I mean, in the event I lose to somebody saying that they solved my problem too with theirs, and I'm like, my problem really not solved, it really does something to the psyche. It's like, man, so this guy was able to tell me without any real application that, yeah, we sorry for your shit too. That racism shit, yeah, we sorry for that too. I feel like it's the same subconscious. Like, it's like bad faith. It's like the Civil Rights Act was passed in the 1960s. The 1960s. It's 2011 right now. My black ass is still in front of a room full of white people talking about how it's still not equal. But those Civil Rights Acts that were passed to believe that I don't have to talk about this no more. There's going to be equality, gender, and race, and religion. But it shows how that when those politicians in that office said, you know what, when I put this ink to this pen, when I put this pen to this paper, it solves. It's going to be over with. That type of stuff, that type of thinking, like, it has a spillover to it. You know what I mean? And it's like that bad, it has an impact to it. So it's like, when my teacher told me, George, every time you try to like bite the bullet and be like a rebellious man, George, man, that's the old America. That's the old America. That time is past. Slavery is no longer. It's like, we won't have slavery no more. So it's like, damn, I believed it. But then I came to college and you know what I mean? I took it up. I read the 13th Amendment for myself. In school, I was taught that the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. I read it to myself and I learned it didn't abolish slavery. It limited it to being convicted to the prisons. So now think about it in reality. Who was the most likely to be still convicted and incarcerated? The descendants of the slaves. So it's like, in society, when we think about, we don't have slavery anymore. And it's like, man, because in reality, I mean, not to be like a pity party, but in reality, it's like, I lost my father to the prison industrial complex doing a 15-year sentence for a non-violent victimless crime.
That was the first day at USC. So we stepped into a debate round. The first day, his daddy going into jail. So thinking about, you know what I mean, how this piece of legislation was passed and believed to be solvency and to solve. And think about all the different type of loopholes and conspiracies within this piece of legislation. Because it's some sections that's part of the 13th Amendment that says, you know, it's a conspiracy type of, you know, like racial profiling and harassment. The 13th Amendment makes that illegal, unconstitutional. But yet we can acknowledge that it's still going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like any event where I've been told that slavery's been solved, and I'm able to see in reality it hasn't really been solved. It does something to the mind. You know what I mean? And that spillover, that meaningful education that we're talking about is like, damn. So I just lost to, you know what I mean, the African women, or you know, the Arab Spring Act, you know what I mean? And they told me that by giving the Yemen money, it will ultimately solve for racism too. It's like almost being put in a situation where it's like, okay, not only will we have a descendant from Hitler and descendant from Jew, like, okay, you got to explain to me, like imagine the position that a Jewish person would be in who was direct descendant from people that came from the Holocaust. This debate is about, you got to explain to me how the Holocaust was bad. And it comes down with, well, you didn't do a good job of saying why Holocaust was bad. You know what I mean? So like when I'm put in the position to explain like why imperialism is bad, and I lose because I didn't fully impact to why imperialism was bad, and it's like I'm sitting in front of you with problems. All my problems can be tied one way or another to imperialism, and you want me to explain to you why imperialism is bad. And not only that, I can lose to this argument. Like imagine, imagine it's like, identify that you might go through it a little bit, but explain to me why this is bad. And you could be wrong. Like, I will acknowledge that imperialism probably has fucked you over and your people over, but explain to me why this is bad. I got a better reason on why it's good than why that's bad. And even though all the reasons why you're saying it's bad, they come from real life issues in theoretical philosophy world,
it might have some good to it. So I'm gonna think about the metaphysical abstractness of the goodness that it could do instead of the actual reality of what it does. You know, it's like, damn, I really have to separate myself from my real life convictions and experiences and be like, maybe imperialism has some good too. What?
Well, should I have automatically disregarded the argument in that bit?
And I think that's the thing too. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want what George said to confuse y'all. You know what I'm saying? Into the sense to where you understand the perspective of psychological damage and stuff, right? So at the point to where I'm a judge in the background, black man, you know what I'm saying, and George doesn't debate, you know what I'm saying? That point to where imperialism bad and stuff, I can't vote for George. But at the same token, though, I understand the situation that's going through. I don't give him I just understand it. Okay.
Yeah, so you win automatically. You said it's bad, so I agree with that. So you win.
Look, in a sense to where, like I say, they say imperialism good. Just giving this example. So they say racism good. Should they say slavery good? Let's just say plain simple slavery good. Hotel good. Let's just say that, right? Straight up. In the sense to where they said if they debate that and win, they won that debate. The part is, on your part as a judge, yeah, they won that debate. You tell them you wrong for one. If there was no, you know what I'm saying, outcome to where it is, and to where we put the challenge upon the debaters to have, like, say, if you do say hotel good, then in a sense, how does that help him? You know what I'm saying? Just in the sense to where we take these things in the mind and look, and I don't want this conversation to be like taken as confusing and stuff, because I want those folks that have a chance to say what they need to say. But it's just, I mean, this whole thing is created around the same way that y'all judge, and I'm keep this brother, the same way that y'all judge every other round where somebody does something different and comes to any other alternative debate, you judge it the same. You know what I'm saying? Simple and plain. You take it the point of this is take it to action. Those who win create action. You know what I'm saying? And those concepts of what's going on with us get recognized. That's the only point. You know what I'm saying? But George is just speaking from like how he feels and stuff. Obviously, like when I say we feel like our opinions are so different, it's not that different. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this debate community.
And I'm not saying he shouldn't do that. I understand why he feels the decision was reprehensible. I understand why he's angry about it. And I feel like when talking about a decision after the debate, one of the first things I told them is that their approach to the debate was incoherent because they were trying to tell a America is really nice story with an imperialism good story at the same time, and telling them why that couldn't exist. I also tried to tell the two of you the two easy ways you could have explained why their argument in a particular context didn't make any sense.
Because it's not beneficial to us that you vote for us just because inherently we're speaking truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to be able to debate, and that's the challenge that comes with it and stuff, especially when we're preparing for the next level, because those people outside of the debate community are going to be saying this shit and not be playing. Like, I'm not playing. I really think hotel good, straight up. What I'm going to say to that if my whole life you just vote for me because I'm black? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't work. So that's not... Judged around is completely the same. You got it? And we ask y'all questions. Just because I know people, I know people want to get to what they're saying. Kind of make them like short and concise. We ain't gonna take a long time for everybody's stuff. We're gonna go here. Go ahead. We're gonna go here. I know you was in the back trying to say something. I forgot about you. You're like, damn, man. Go ahead.
I have kind of an odd question, and one that's hard for me to voice. But in a lot of these discussions, I feel like it's either fractured identity in terms of personality and competitor as different people, bad, or same person good. As someone who has a fractured identity in terms of being, I put this in the biggest quotes possible, schizophrenic, how does someone with a fractured identity approach this kind of debate?
As far as what? What's fractured identity? As far as me being fractured outside of the debate community?
As terms of someone who doesn't have any sort of stability. And any
stability is as far as?
In terms of this is what I think, this is what I feel. It changes.
Oh, so a
every
person who-
30 minutes. I can't have an experience that I derive things from, and therefore I can't have something that I can almost speak from.
Yeah.
And I respect what you do. I do. I promise you I do. And in terms of conservative state bullshit, I grew up in Oklahoma for 21 years. And when it comes down to I can't separate myself from the debate, it's impossible for me to connect myself to a lot of these issues because I can't connect myself to anything.
Yeah.
Because those sorts of connections are not available to me simply due to my psyche in the way that I can't deal with it. So how does someone with a fractured identity, not in terms of competitor and person, but in terms of 30 different people, deal with something? And I really am anxious to hear your response because I do think you have something valuable to say.
And I think I was going to kind of put you, not in the box, I was kind of put you in the category of what, you know what I'm saying, what Loyola does a lot. But in general, when I hear like the person, if I'm understanding it right, that person who doesn't, not necessarily have an opinion, but to a person who can't stand in their philosophical truth. Is that what I'm saying to a certain extent? I feel like those things are your philosophical truth. Like, you should say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be like, I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not torn, I don't know what it is. Maybe we should produce something to where we identify something for these people who are torn, which will essentially lead to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like my whole concept about the thing. I feel like people answer their own questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, not in the complex way. When you say you grew up in a certain area that was like Oklahoma.
Well, I just feel like it's either competitor or person. Like,
no.
Earlier you all said, you were talking about an argument where, do you want me to answer like a competitor or like a person? Mm-hmm. And it seems like we should join these arguments.
Exactly.
And it always feels like these arguments are either solid or fractured. And that idea of fractured is ultimately bad. Right? Like, it's always disinterested. It's always bad. But what about people who can't control that?
Mm-hmm.
Who can't deal with that fracturedness?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who have to deal with it on a daily basis? And if they could be solid, they might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think...
Oh, shit, I got you. Actually, I feel like I can relate to what you said.
Yeah, I was about to
Damn
say,
good. You know what I mean? Actually, from the standpoint where it's like the state identifies me as African American, hyphen American. You know what I mean? So at the same time, where it's like I'm supposed to feel American, but the true Americans don't call themselves European American or Anglo American, but I'm called African American. But at the same time, the people in Africa, they don't look at me as being African. I'm being black. So it's like, what do I latch on to? The place where I was born and raised, which is America, it doesn't identify me with America. It identifies me as an African living in America. But at the same time, the Africans identify me as a bastard, a nigger, just black. That's it. So it's like my identity is fractured. I got nothing to latch on to. I can't latch on to America because America don't give a damn about me. I can't latch on to the Africans because the Africans don't give a damn about me. So I'm caught up in this. I'm caught up in these two worlds. Like, who I identify with? Am I African American? Am I American? Am I African? What am I?
And I don't mean to cut you off, but my point is,
how do you?
It always seems like these debates come down to there's a competition in switch side debate that we shouldn't separate our personal lives from. We should have this almost stable subject. Yeah. And I don't mean to get too fucking crazy D&G into it, even though I've been reading it for the past few years and whatever. But for some of us, that stable subject isn't available. Not only within culture, but hour by hour. We cannot live within that. So how do we engage this space?
And this doesn't have to be something that you have to have a definitive answer to. Neither do they. Neither does anyone.
But I
just don't know how to do it.
I think. The question that you have to ask yourself, I mean, the concept of a stable identity, I get it. It's very difficult to separate yourself as a competitor from yourself and what you believe in, right? Like that's, I understand.
Well, no, it's not just that, but it's that never exists for me.
Right, like I understand.
It never
and what
happens.
I'm saying is that there are certain concepts, right, like imperialism good, racism good, those things, right? There's got to be something that tells you that shit's wrong.
Well,
There's got to be something
that's fine. That's all fine. That's all fine. But the concept comes down to whether or not there is a stable subject that can deal with those debates. Because the question has always been whether or not we can separate ourselves from history. Because everyone can agree imperialism has always been wrong. I don't think anyone in this room is going to say imperialism is fucking good. What we did to people was fucking awesome. The question is whether or not there is a stable subject to begin with, and whether or not that's available to everyone, and how we deal with it. Because when we deal with schizophrenics in the community, it's never dealt with in general. No one talks about it.
That's what should happen in the debate. Like that's what I was saying at the beginning. I hope you get what I'm saying. I don't know how many people agree with me, but I feel like that should be the debate for you. As far as like,
I've been trying for 4 years.
That's our point. Like, I was about to say, like, if you ain't relating to us right now, I don't know who is. Like,
no, I am.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I've been trying to say.
That's true.
Hey, shit.
Hold on.
You right here.
Hey, y'all all over the place. What?
Yeah, now this question.
I don't want to speak for Ely, but I think I get sort of what he's getting at,
Yeah.
having known him for a long time. I disagree with myself. I think everyone on a lot of fundamental issues disagrees with themselves. We don't have this coherent belief system that is just unproblematic, that we can just say, well, I know this is right and this is wrong. And that we can easily live out or know what we should pursue. And I think that what Ely is getting at is that sometimes, I don't know necessarily you should switch sides on an issue. I personally, obviously, do not come down in that direction. But you shouldn't try and make it coherent. You shouldn't try and say that you should always argue one thing.
Is this is your point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that's what Ely was trying to.
Yeah, no.
It's impossible to reach for some of us. Some of us can't ever have that.
And I feel like that information, that awareness is something that needs to be known. You know what I'm saying? And not on the level to where you're saying it for 4 years and nobody listens to a damn thing you're saying, really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
What did I say?
I'll
go in.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Paul. I noticed that earlier when Peyton was asking about what does debate round looks like in a world where you, like in a world, bless you, in a world post this discussion. And I don't think it's you have. I don't think that what they're saying is you have to have a coherent, like set of ethics or like a coherent set of arguments that you always argue. Just that you have to connect to it in some way. It can change, it can develop, it can change according to however you relate to yourself or the issues that you're talking about in that time. But that you should relate to it in some way. You can't remove how you feel from the round and say the EU counterclaim is super awesome. Like, let's just talk about that every round. It's that you should have a way to relate to it. And if that changes, that's fine. But it is the process of relating to it in whatever fashion that you do that is the discussion that they're saying is important, at least to me. So that's kind of how I interpret that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to something that Rubai said. Rubai and I grew up in the same area. And, there are geographies of exclusion and there are relative distances of exclusion, but there are also places that are unified within division. Like Kansas City is a place that has poverty, it has richness, it has its ups and its downs. And Johnson County, Wyandotte County is not different from that. All those counties are not different from that. They have their ups and their downs. And debate is not different from that. And when I go back to Waco, it's not different from that. We have the Baylor bubble, and we have everything outside, which is an up and a down. And debate, it seems like there's always going to be the voice crying out. There's always going to be the voice remaining silent because they're on the side of truth and because they're on the side of privilege and because they're on the side of things that they know. And how do we as debate reconcile the fact that we all come together in the same place? And how do we narrate? It was like when I used to drive to poker games at Rubi's house back in the day in high school, and we knew each other not even through debate, but through prom, through some old girlfriends back in the day. Allison and Stephanie, you know the truth. But then we had to know each other through debate and through knowledge and through inclusion and exclusion and through spaces. And when I drove that distance, that was a relationship. And how do we deal with the fact that debate has relationships of, equivocation and unequivocation, of up and down, of good and bad? And it seems like, they're not talking. And I don't know, I showed up late, so I don't want to talk for anybody about why they're not talking, or why I haven't heard them talk in a while, but it seems like there's an up and a down, and there's a good and there's a bad, and we're all here together, and it's all in the same place, geographically or metaphysically, or whatever.
Yeah,
somewhere in between. How do we deal with both of those? How do we deal with the up and the down, the good and the bad?
Yeah, I wanted
whiteness and blackness.
Yeah,
if you will.
I wanted Nick or somebody to keep that question in mind. So we'll go back to him. I want folks to say that question really quick, so to be out there, so even if we don't get to the super answer and stuff, just to have these things twirl. What was the thing you were going to say? Because I've been
it kind of relates to that stable identity, but I think that it doesn't have to be worded as strongly as that. It's an activity that's full of young people primarily, so some older coaches running around, but it's for the debaters themselves, which is a college-age population. And I don't know that it seems like part of the directive is to bring yourself to the debate, and also from the debate take things away to go out and do actions in the world. I think that maybe it's not that everybody's there yet, and maybe that you're not completely open to just ignore, hey, I'm black, and a lot of America won't let you forget that. But a lot of folks maybe in some ways have a privilege of not having to consider that, but a lot of the things that are happening are more internal, whether it's schizophrenia, or questions about their sexuality, or things like coming to the debate. And maybe this is the bridge between what you're talking about and what Lane is talking about, is that some people come at that through an incubation period that is debate, that they come to find out things about vegetarianism by debating the ag topic, or they learn about immigration in a different way, and that maybe that the kind of directive that you're giving is a little bit bold in that people may get there eventually. Some may never do it. Some of them may wrestle with things for a long, long time. Some may wrestle with incarceration and never get to get to the place that you're going to, or that you wanted to reach. Or they may have other things that they have to deal with. But to say that figure out what you want to do and go do it from debate. I think that part of debate for a lot of people is figuring out who they are. People change their major, right? People change their hair color. People change things through debate that's pretty deep. And so say hey, go take what you're learning here and go do something. Part of that is maybe they can access things like women's suffrage and figure out a little bit more about that. But there may be issues that they come across in debate that they're wrestling with already, and maybe they're not even ready to articulate it. Hey, somebody's going to come out and say I'm gay. There may be people that aren't really ready to do that yet.
And I understand. I think one of the things is that, and I'm not super into this conversation because I totally agree with that. I think one of the things is mainly that I think the pressure or the acknowledgement of that end goal needing to happen, and the importance of it, the significance of some action happening, is I think something that's relevant. I think policy debaters can come around and say, you know what, I really don't have anything to where I can produce a significant action, but I think I can produce a space to where I can do something that can do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's where I'm not saying anybody has to have a specific position. You know what I'm saying? But I think everybody inside their rounds are saying something, have some type of resolution, some type of quote-unquote solvency for something. So I think everybody inside every debate round has something that they want to do. And they have something. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying
I don't know. I think a lot of people wrestle with, like, what is my purpose?
But look, this is the thing. This is the thing to where what you were saying about, the first thing you said was that the debaters are young. You know what I'm saying? The coaches are older, right? And my culture, and then the culture that I'm identified with, in African culture, we see our elders as our teachers. We see our elders as those people who are supposed to guide us through life and tell us things before we go into it, right? So as that, just off of that metaphor, in the sense of the things to where we are debaters, and if I win the NDT, I think that when I was saying before about those people who are in positions and have people and have networking positions to actually create something can help them do something, even if it's those elders' idea that they just agree with. Like, hey, maybe you just want to do something for a charity. Maybe you just want to do it. Something would happen. I think that something is more than nothing. You know what I'm saying? And that pressure upon it is more than just saying, you know what, I don't even know my major, so I definitely am not going to know how I want to save the world. Like, I don't think that's an excuse to not do something. You know what I'm saying? But I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I think that the elders and those people, coaches like you, are you a coach? Coaches like you and other people can help those debaters to gain something. And I think that that's the conversation that needs to go down. Because if they don't know, I think that's exactly our point. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you're a bad person because you don't know. What young person in college really does know how they're going to save the world and stuff? Like, that's not my point at all. It's just saying the something factor that plays into the reality of the situation that we are in that's related to the competitive notion that's going down has to have some type of integration, some type of intertwinement that creates an action. He was gonna say something. Who was gonna say something? Let's sit down real quick.
Now, dude, right here,
he got to say something.
Yeah, I'm in my 46th hour of being awake, so I'm tripping nuts right now.
So now
So originally, Jack is taking a piss or something. I don't know. He's somewhere. He's right there. All right, excellent, perfect timing.
What did I get called out for?
No, you're not.
Okay, I get to hear it. All right, here we go.
Yeah. So, goddamn, I'm never gonna wait this long.
Spit it out.
So, my junior year of high school, I remember I had one bid from the ASU, the prestigious Arizona State tournament, and so we went to Berkeley, and I was very excited to try and get my second bid to go to the Tournament of Champions, as a junior. It had been a long year. Came into my round at Berkeley, my last kind of tournament of the year. Jack's judging. I think Callum and Blake were other judges. Actually, I know for a fact. We were debating Tamara Kaplan and Jillian Jordan from Harvard. Triple octafinals at Berkeley. We debated Pablo from MSU in the prelims. We had a pretty long tournament. Laura, who never got a chance to debate in high school or in college. We lost. We got our shit rocked, actually. And I remember on the van home, I remember this experience very vividly. I was crying like a baby back bitch, as some might say. I was like, shit, I'm not going to the TOC this year. And so I thought that was the high point of my debate career. Not the high point, I thought that was a high emotional point. And I guess just the comparison of that point where I watched, Jack just be like, shit, you fucked this up, to where we are now and to what he's allowed me and all of us to experience tonight, shows what it means for an activity to truly influence your life.
Golf clap.
Like Arch, for example, one of my boys from Utah, another Western Coast. We've had tons of debates. We've beaten each other. We've lost to each other. We befriended each other. We've looked like each other at debate camp. Markov, for a while, was one of my nemesis based on when I eventually got to go to the TOC. Obviously, he's my dog. Again, very, very tired. And so, my whole point is that this activity, kind of, in all the competitive rivalries we have, we ignore that there are people, real people with real stories that shape who they are and the way they compete and the way they live. Like Markov, like Arsh, like Lane, who's my goddamn roommate. I still don't know why, but and I guess my whole point is that tonight has shown me that the value of this activity is real. I need to go to sleep.
First off.
I mean, I was crying when Lane was speaking because I sleep 10 feet away from this kid every night. I probably will for the next 3 years of my life. And maybe 20 feet. 3 years ago, there's no chance in hell that I would have believed that would be possible. There's no way I would have think that me and Alex Miles, that I consider him to be one of my best friends in the whole fucking world. Or Jordan Blumenthal, who I don't even debate with anymore. All of these kinds of people, these two kids right here, the two motherfuckers from Loyola who've shown us that, death might just be good, and Lane should definitely think about it for weeks on end and bitch about it forever. And I obviously am not making that much sense right now, which is why I'm going to go to bed. But shit, this shit's real as hell, so.
This is all I was going to do real quick. Cassie, she come up here? I don't even come up there. Come up here.
I kind of want to say, this is a response to what?
I want to say something real quick. I want to do go first. You can say something. I was going to let them end off because I didn't want to folks just be feeling like that and sit here. We're going to have our conversations and stuff, but I wanted it to be like something that happens from this grassroots movement and have y'all influence and stuff. Matter of fact, I didn't want Nick to say something too. So did Nick say something? Can he say something? Did Nick say something? Okay, good.
I don't know. I'm deeply conflicted about a lot of things that have been raised tonight, and I kind of have felt this way for a long time. A lot of things that everyone has said have resonated to me at a lot of different levels because I don't really know what the answer to all these questions are. I have no idea what I want to do or how I want to accomplish it. But I do think that the thing that resonated most with me is that a lot of these things that we're talking about can't just be simply described in terms of what happens in debate and what happens outside debate, because it's discussing about simply a way of thinking. And I think it's really easy to be naive about how we can take, or it's really easy to be naive just about advocacy and kind of agency in the abstract. And it's really easy to distance ourselves from the ways in which the game kind of can influence that kind of subliminally and not allow us to challenge that. The thing that always gets me is that debate has taught me not only how to debate but also how to think and write. And, whenever I took classes and wrote papers, I constructed arguments in the exact same way that I constructed debate arguments. And I think it would be extremely easy, and it kind of terrifies me actually, that that same process could happen at some point in time after debate. And it's real simple to allow the kind of game mentality that debate teaches us all to enter into what happens after debate. So in the same way that debate kind of incentivizes us to construct an argument and go out to find facts to prove ourselves correct, I think that happens a lot in academia. And I don't know, like I said, I don't really have a point here.
So yeah, I can see what you're kind of getting at though, in a sense. It seemed like like on the lines of what you, like, on those same lines, it's almost like we gonna learn how to beat the monster by being the monster, which ultimately means that we are, you know what I mean, passing on this type of knowledge space or this type of knowledge, you know what I mean, to be a monster in a sense. Because it's like, when I think about like what you just said, it made me think of the Spanos card. You know what I'm talking about, the Spanos card? You know what I mean? Spanos talks about, you know what I mean, how in debate, how in debate we learn this interesting type of methodology of arguing, type of disarm the oppressor in a sense. And those type of methodologies are being used in the big political realm, you know what I mean? So it's like any event where, you know what I mean, I'm debating versus imperialism good, and I keep on losing to it in a sense, or somebody has really figured out how to win, imperialism is good. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that benefit is good?
I think that what kept striking me is that we keep using this example of like imperialism good, and even you all kind of said that people outside debate don't think imperialism is good. But imperialism isn't just like a policy, and I think you all spoke to that. But imperialism speaks to a broader frame. And when you all said that there's no difference between Muslims and Christians and the left and the right, I think that kind of speaks to that there's something that can influence in a negative way how we advocate if we aren't self-reflexive enough. I don't know. It seems like people, and it's kind of it seems to me it's always been the problem with how people kind of throw around terms like democracy and agency and advocacy. It's really easy to just say we've been reflexive, but it's really a lot different to enact that.
Yeah, that's what solvency stuff. That's what I think of. Like.
So, in conclusion, Nick, you good?
Yeah, good.
All right. So, I wanted Gabe to wrap up. I feel like Gabe is really good at clearly explaining the things. You'd be like, fuck them, Gabe. You're like, no, see what happened. So Gabe was going to explain it, and I wanted to, like I said, going back to just the cultural thing and stuff, I always have to give honor to those people who gave me, who allowed the space, and also are an example of the action that just happened within, you know what I'm saying, this space to acknowledge, for one, the privilege and put yourself in a position of responsibility to do something about it. And they did something about it, which is Loyola and stuff. So I'm going to give Loyola and
one thing that I think is really important about what Rashid is thinking is kind of indicative of a lot of the questions I'm hearing is, what do we do, right? A lot of people are like, I don't know what I want to do yet. It's a long time. I don't know when I'm going to be a lawyer and go to the Supreme Court. What do I do? What do we do in debates? And I think I want to kind of clarify from my perspective something that Rashid is saying, which is that something is better than nothing. And it starts at a small level. It starts at compassion and just thinking about people in everyday instances. For example, one thing that kind of really gets to me, my grandparents came from Mexico, were blueberry farmers. My grandmother went into the house cleaning industry, cleaned hotels for a while, cleaned personal houses and things like this. This is a very concrete example, I think, of something that's simple, but incorporates what we're talking about, which is taking the lessons that we learn in debate and applying them to even small issues to change people's lives. When I walk around hotels, and this hotel is different, this hotel has a lot more cleaning people of your ancestry than mine. But when I walk into hotels and see the people who are cleaning our rooms, for example, I can't tell you the number of those people that look like my aunt, that look like my grandma, that look like people who I see from Mexico I've never met, but have seen pictures of them. And ever since I made this connection, it really grinds my gears to see the way that even little things, and they'll tell you, I yell at our team all the time for the messes that they leave, that people who clean up after us have to deal with. So something that I do, for example, I feel like, I'm so cool or whatever, but it's small things, right? Like, start tomorrow morning. When you leave your hotel room, use the lessons that you learn in debate. You know there's poverty. You know the people who are cleaning up after you are dirt poor. You know that their job sucks. Clean up your room. Make your bed. All right? Wake up half an hour earlier and clean up after yourselves. Don't leave trash around. Take your trash. There's trash cans outside. You can have a bunch of trash and go out there. But I think that kind of example is important because I think the point that Sheed's making when he says that something is better than nothing is that we can take these broad aspects, compassion, understandings about poverty, and understandings that we have relationships with other people and things like that, and we can apply them tonight. We can apply them tomorrow morning. We can apply them every day of our lives. It's not just going to the Supreme Court and winning a case. It's that we can use the debate space and the things that we learn here to make everybody's life better. So if you're asking yourself, what do? I feel trapped. I feel like there's nothing I can do. It's because you're thinking too big. There's always something you can do to improve someone's life. And you can always look at the world. Yes, how do we see the world? We're not of the oppressed. I don't have your same social location. When I walked into this hotel, I didn't think about, the slaves that were walking through here. I didn't think about the history of this hotel. You can think about that. You can just think that there are other people who exist among us, and we can have compassion towards them. So the little things, I think, are the way that we start making these changes, and the way that we apply these lessons from debate and what we learn in rounds to the real world. You don't have to change the whole world, just a little part. And I think that we're all smart enough, we're all intelligent and compassionate and awesome people. And I think the lesson that we can take from this is that it doesn't have to be win a Supreme Court decision. It doesn't have to be get a piece of legislation passed. It can be cleaning up your room. It can be leaving a tip for the cleaning people so they have a nicer dinner tonight. Those little things, and hopefully that's the lesson that I think a lot of people take out of this, is that we can learn. We're smart enough to do stuff. And as a community, we have a responsibility, I think, to do that.